Okay, welcome folks. We are on to the next part of our treasure chest. So yesterday we cut our boards to about 18 long. We got board 1, which is 3.5 wide, board 2, which is 5 1/4 wide, and board 3, which is maybe 1 3/4, 2 inches wide. Board 3 we don't use for quite a while. Step 3A says to measure out the front and back on board 1. To do that, you have to look at your parts list, and now we're measuring the length. I see that the length of them is 8 3/4, and I need a front and a back. So always measure from the end of a piece of lumber, and I like to make sure the end I'm measuring from is nice and square, that it's not crooked. If it is a little bit crooked, I have to just trim it on the miter saw. So now I want to measure them 8 3/4. Not sort of, kind of, maybe 8 3/4, but exactly 8 3/4. Then I'm going to square it. And I have one of my pieces ready. The saw is going to go on the waste side. But I can also measure another piece on that same board from the other side. As long as I'm measuring from the end of a piece of lumber, because the blade will take out some lumber here. I'm going to double check. Ooh, that's good. 8 3/4. That's good as well. So I'm ready to go cut my front and back. Once again, tight to the fence. Don't touch the trigger till you're ready for the blade to spin. I'm going to use my push stick to hold the lumber, especially now that it's a bit smaller. I'm going to look at my good piece, which on this case is on the right. Line up my teeth with the outside of the line, hold it in place, get my push stick here, bring the blade off the wood to get it spinning full speed. Make sure it stops spinning while it's still down. And now I'm actually just going to cut the next piece here, but I'm going to look at this side of the blade because now my good piece is on the left. And if you cut these too short, there's nothing you can do. They're too short. So I cut this one a hair long. I'm going to trim it so it's the perfect size. But I don't want to do it too short because I cannot make it longer. And there's my front and back, perfectly 8 3/4. We'll go back and we're going to measure out my bottom and end. So now I'll measure out the bottom, which is step 3B. It's also 8 3/4. Make sure to put your name on your pieces, and often I'll put what they are just so I don't forget for tomorrow. This will be my bottom. My name.
Mr. Jones.
And now I have this one last piece, and I'm going to measure my two ends from this. Measuring from the end. And they're just 2 7/8. They're quite short. But once again, when you're cutting them to the length, they have to be perfect length. They can't be off one way or the other, otherwise your box just will not work out. So you have a little waste piece, and now I have all the parts of my box. You can see they go together like this. And the best thing to do at this point, before you do anything more, is I just get a piece of foam, and you can use a power sander now. We're going to just sand all our parts before we mark out our nails and assemble our box. So we basically just want to sand all the surfaces without rounding off the edges so that our box goes together nice and tight. And then once you're done sanding all your parts, you can mark out your nail holes and get ready to assemble your box.